The movie begins with a group of priests entering the Sola Mira hive. Black Hat senses danger, but Priest insists on continuing their mission to find the queen. They soon realize it's an ambush. Some team members are dragged underground, with a few escaping to daylight. In the final tunnel, Priest cannot stop Black Hat from being captured. The scene shifts to a dystopian, post-apocalyptic world, where humans and vampires have been at war for centuries. Narration provides background on the conflict, explaining that the church has established a totalitarian regime, and that the priests, once elite vampire fighters, are now outcasts. The scene shifts to a graphic novel-style animation depicting the brutal war between humans and vampires, highlighting key events that led to the current state of the world. It explains how the priests were crucial in turning the tide for humans, but were disbanded by the church once the vampires were believed defeated and contained. Years later, Owen measures radiation levels, telling his wife Shannon they might be able to start farming. Their daughter Lucy comes home joking about the smell of food. Owen, furious when she admits being in town, scolds her for disobedience. Lucy argues she's old enough to make her own decisions, but Owen insists their outpost requires sacrifices. Feeling like a prisoner, Lucy gets angry. Shannon intervenes, calming them by insisting they say grace. Suddenly, the ground trembles, frightening Lucy. Owen sees a pack of vampires approaching and orders Shannon and Lucy to hide below. Shannon gets Lucy inside their hiding spot, instructing her not to scream. Shannon stays to help Owen. Lucy hears gunshots and her parents screams as they are torn apart by the vampires. The hatch opens and someone enters, terrifying Lucy. In Cathedral City, the skyline remains under the church's protection, with residents under constant clergy surveillance. As Priest walks among the people, the church bells toll, and everyone stops to pay homage. A voice declares that defying the church is defying God. Priest enters a confessional booth, seeking forgiveness. The machine recognizes him, and Monsignor Aurelas appears, prompting his confession. Priest dreams of the war with the vampires and his failure to save a comrade, causing him to question his faith. The Monsignor explains that the devil takes many forms and assigns prayers of contrition. Later, Priest shares an elevator with a mother and son. The boy asks about his tattoo, but his mother hushes him, warning him not to speak to priests. Approaching his apartment, Priest knocks over a man, Hick, who reveals he is the sheriff where Priest's brother Owen lives. He explains that Owen has been injured, Shannon killed, and Lucy taken by vampires. Hick, following Priest inside, explains that Lucy spoke of him as a war hero, renowned for killing vampires, and asks for his help in rescuing her. Priest seeks permission from the ruling clergy to reinstate his authority. Monsignor Aurelas, informed of Priest's troubles by Monsignor Chamberlain, listens as Priest explains that his family was attacked by vampires. Aurelas laughs, dismissing the claim, insisting that no vampires have escaped the reservations and suggesting wasteland bandits were responsible. He insists there is no vampire threat anymore. Chamberlain tries to support Priest, but Aurelas shuts him down, ordering Priest not to undermine the faith of the citizens. Aurelas warns that challenging the clergy's authority is forbidden, and that disobedience will result in being stripped of his title and excommunicated. Meanwhile, on a speeding train, Lucy is imprisoned by vampires. One taunts her until Black Hat arrives, explaining the cage is for her protection. She warns that her uncle, Priest, will come for them, which is exactly what Black Hat wants. Monsignor Chamberlain informs Priest that the ruling is final, expressing disappointment that they wouldn't listen despite Priest's sacrifices. Chamberlain insists the war is over, but Priest disagrees and insists on acting. Soon, police raid the bar they're in. Chamberlain urges caution and the greater good, but Priest decides to break his vow, swiftly taking down the officers. Priest prepares himself and his weapons to rescue Lucy, uncovering his vehicle and leaving Cathedral City for the harsh wasteland. He quickly reaches his brother's outpost and finds a photo of Owen's family in the trashed homestead. The sheriff initially thinks he's looting, but recognizes Priest, and they ride to town together. There, the sheriff expels a salesman selling fake vampire fighting weapons, reassuring the townspeople that there are no more vampires. Priest and the sheriff wait to see Owen, who asks why Priest never returned. Priest explains he couldn't. Owen laments not being able to save Shannon, but Priest reassures him that he gave her a life Priest never could. Owen asks Priest to promise to find Lucy and eliminate the vampires. Later, the sheriff informs Priest that the clergy is searching for him and has forbidden Lucy's rescue. He offers to join the mission, but Priest tests him by refusing. Hick demonstrates his skill by cutting a bullet in half midair with a knife and claims he's even better with a gun. Before leaving, Hick inquires about the bullets Priest is preparing, as priests typically don't use guns. Priest explains the bullets are for him. In Cathedral City, a squadron of priests is summoned by the Monsignors to bring Priest in, dead or alive. One priestess objects, but they proceed. Priest attends Owen's funeral, laying him to rest next to Shannon. Hicks joins him at the outpost and asks what he's discovered. Priest has found footsteps that don't match the vampires or their familiars, indicating a new lead. They decide to search in that direction and ride to the nearest vampire reservation. The sheriff explains the reservation is home to a fallen tribe, and they have limited time as the sun sets. They find the area unguarded and overrun with illegal familiars. Hicks explains that many are voluntary familiars, hoping to eventually be infected. They approach a familiar who warns that Priest is not welcome, claiming their lands are protected. The sheriff tells the familiar what they're looking for, but the familiar denies anyone has passed through their reservation. As they enter the main gate, they find the place in disarray, with guards' bodies scattered. Priest interrogates a familiar in a cell, threatening to open his master's coffin if he doesn't reveal Lucy's location. Suddenly, a group of familiars attacks. The sheriff runs outside, but is ambushed by another familiar. Priest arrives in time, killing all but one familiar. When he interrogates the survivor, the familiar defends the vampires, calling Priest the real monster. As the sun sets, vampires emerge from their coffins, surrounding Priest and the sheriff. Priest takes out a Bible, which conceals weapons, and uses them to kill two vampires. He fights another vampire, while Hicks tries to shoot one. Overpowered, Hicks is saved by Priest, who kills the vampire. One vampire screams and flees. Priest returns to the familiar, who reveals Lucy was taken west, but warns something worse is coming. The fleeing vampire returns and attacks Priest. They battle, falling into the reservation's confines. Hicks waits with his gun drawn, but Priest emerges victorious. They decide to head west to the Sola Mira hive, hoping to find Lucy. Meanwhile, a town salesman visits Black Hat, seeking compensation for information. Black Hat threatens him, and he reveals that Priest and the sheriff appeared in town after Lucy was taken. Despite praising him, Black Hat drinks his blood, turning him into a familiar. Simultaneously, Priestess arrives at the outpost, following their trail. Priest and the sheriff head west. During a break, Priest asks if Owen knew about Hicks's relationship with Lucy. Hicks admits he loves her, but says Owen didn't know. Priest warns that if Lucy is infected, he will kill her, but the sheriff vows to prevent it. They arrive at the hive and climb its walls. Priest has war flashbacks as he lights up the hive, instructing Hicks to shoot anything that isn't him. Priest descends into the shaft while Hicks, finding a toy buried in the dirt, explores his level. A creature appears behind him. Meanwhile, Priest investigates the tunnels, following a fleeting figure. He reaches a light at the end of a tunnel and is ambushed by Priestess. She reveals that she was sent by the clergy and that they split up at the reservation. Priest explains he had no choice but to break his vow. Hearing shots in the distance, they find Hicks. Priest identifies the creature as a hive guardian, too large to descend. Priest and Priestess fight it together, with Priest delivering the final blow. However, the creature reawakens, and Hicks shoots it dead. Later, the priests discuss their next steps while Hicks guards the entrance. Priestess questions why there would be a guardian in an abandoned hive and warns that the sheriff might try to stop Priest from killing Lucy if she's infected. Priest doubts he could. They bond over their experiences and hardships since the war. Priestess confides in Priest that she won't turn him in, but has come to warn him. She also suffers from PTSD from the war and often thinks of him in her better moments. The three of them continue exploring the hive and discover a newly rebuilt section. Inside, they find a massive hive prepared for a new army, but it's empty. As they investigate further, Priestess tells Hicks that Priest was taken by the clergy much later, and his sacrifice was greater than most. Priest joins them, noting a change in the air, and they discover a large exit leading to the town of Jericho. The three priests pursuing Priest arrive and confront Black Hat. He easily defeats the first and offers the remaining two a chance to join him. The next morning, the group arrives in the now desolate town. They split up to search the buildings. Priestess finds dynamite while Priest discovers an empty house. Hicks and Priestess regroup, noting that there are too many mouths to feed. They find Priest praying over the bodies of the other priests. Priestess joins him, and Hicks asks what kind of vampire could kill three priests. Priest explains that it's something they haven't encountered before, and realizes how the vampires vanished before sunrise. They head to the train station, where Hicks informs them that the rail goes to the cities, with Jericho being the last stop in the wasteland. Priest and Priestess realize it was a systematic plan to draw the priests out of the cities, leaving them defenseless against the vampire army. Priestess reminds Priest that their power comes from God, not the church, and hoped Shannon's death would free him. She gives him a special weapon before they ride toward the train. Hick threatens to kill Priest if he harms Lucy. Priestess reveals Lucy is Priest's daughter, whom he gave to Owen as a baby. Priest tells Hick they must work together to save her. Approaching the train, Priest instructs Priestess to blow up the rails, regardless of their position. Hick sneaks onto the train, while Priestess, pursued by familiars, activates her nitro drive and escapes. Hick encounters a vampire lair, and Priest confronts Black Hat, a human-vampire hybrid, on the train. Black Hat offers Priest a chance to join him. Priest attacks, but Black Hat is too strong. As they fight, Priestess sets explosives on the tracks, and Hick finds Lucy being taken by a familiar. Priest bursts into the train car as vampires flood in. Hick shoots at them, creating holes in the ceiling to let in sunlight. They chase Lucy but are stopped by Black Hat, who throws Hick off the train. Priest fights Black Hat but is overpowered. Lucy lights Black Hat on fire but is captured again. Black Hat reveals Priest is her father before stabbing him to a wall. As Priestess mounts explosives on her bike and rides toward the train, Priest frees himself. Black Hat prepares to turn Lucy, but Priest intervenes. They dangle off the side of the train as Priestess rams her bike into it, causing a massive explosion that kills all the vampires. Hick finds Priest and Lucy alive. Later, Priest confronts Monsignor Aurelius during Mass, throwing a vampire's head at his feet and warning about the burning train outside. He insists the war is just beginning. He meets Priestess in the wasteland, who tells him the others have been informed. They will rendezvous in another city. Priest rides away into the sunset, ready for the next battle. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.